gratitude, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Heal Talk with Na. I am your host, Shanae, and I am so grateful for all of you for tuning in to this show and supporting this platform. Today, I have two very amazing special guests with me. I have Salia and Karima, who are entrepreneurs, businesswomen, queens, and they are on their healing journey, and they are here to share their stories with you. So today's topic, we are talking about building through loss. And these ladies, their stories are amazing and phenomenal. Cannot wait to share all of the amazing things that they have going on, but share a little bit more about their journey with you all. So without further ado, we are going to kick it off. Salia and Karima, welcome, queens.
Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
Of course. No, gratitude to you both for, being a part of this project and sharing your voice and sharing your stories. So thank you. Can you tell the people a little bit about who you are before we kick it off?
Sure. I'm Karima. I am one of the co-founders of Sabreen Cosmetics. We're in the Washington, D.C. area, and we're just here to uplift and serve women. And I'm happy to be here on your platform. I think it's a wonderful platform. So happy to be here.
Hi, I'm Salia. I'm the founder and CEO of Sabreen Cosmetics, and Karima is my youngest sister. We're one of three. So we're happy, like as Karima said, I echo her sentiments. We're honored to be here, and we just think it's a great platform that you have. Excited to be here today.
Thank you. I'm excited to have you both. And yes, you did mention we are missing one of the queens that's in your sisterhood. And hopefully next time she'll get to be a part of this conversation, because I don't believe this will be the last one. So we can get into the conversation. Again, we are talking about building through loss, and we got to chat a little bit before this conversation. And I think how we were even brought together through similar stories was such a divine alignment, and the fact that we get to continue to stay connected for me has been so special. So can you ladies just tell a little bit about your upbringing, your background, just a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So we're a family of five. My parents have been married for about 32 years this past September. So we grew up in a two-parent household, two parents from two different backgrounds, two different ways of looking at life, but they really, really instilled in us values about ethics, hard work, honesty, loyalty, trust, very, very big emphasis on education. So that really laid the foundation for us to kind of catapult and move in the direction that we did with the business. We're a very close-knit family, five different personalities, but very, very, very close-knit. So yeah, I'm the oldest of three as well.
Karima, do you want to tell a little bit about who you are?
Sure. Again, I'm the youngest of three. So far, what was that? June 2016, we founded our business, Sabreen Cosmetics, in honor of our aunt, Nabia Sabreen, who lost her battle with breast cancer in 2009. So my two sisters and I came together to pretty much create a business to help keep her legacy alive. She was a person who instilled in us education, health, and wellness. So we just wanted to create something to honor her, as well as create healthy and safe products for women of color. So right now we're on this journey of creating products and just making our mark in the beauty industry. So I'm honored to be able to do this with my two sisters. I think it's an incredible opportunity. Excited to see how far we are able to go.
Amazing. So I definitely want to get into it. You mentioned your aunt who passed away from breast cancer, and how you ladies created your business in honor of her. And that's also kind of how we were connected, because my aunt passed away from breast cancer a couple of years ago, and she was very much so into beauty, very much so into divine femininity, like exuded that. And that inspired me to want to create a space for clean beauty. Really, that was the intention. And that's how we were able to be connected. And so Can you tell me a little bit about, your relationship with your aunt and, during that time when that happened, when she passed away, how did that affect you all and, inspire you to kind of be where you are right now?
My aunt Nabia Sabreen, she was such a dynamic woman with so many layers. One moment we could be talking about health and wellness. The next moment we could be talking about socially conscious topics. The next moment we're talking about divine femininity. She was just a very, very intelligent woman. She was the matriarch of our family once our grandmother passed. So she really was like the glue for our family. So in 2009, when I was about 16 years old, when I lost her, I was just starting to get to that age where our conversations or our relationship was kind of blossoming from auntie niece to woman conversations. And when she passed away, I was very devastated, because I kind of felt robbed of that, because we were just starting to get to that point, and I don't even know how my womanhood would be different had she been here. But she was a very, very full of life, loved fashion. My mom would tell me as a younger child, like that was like her mom, because my mom is one of 10, and they were kind of towards the end of the siblings, younger of the siblings. And my mom talked about how much my aunt helped her throughout her life. Like that was like her mom. So I definitely share that sentiment.
I agree. I was 13 when she passed, and being young and coping with death was different for me. I was still trying to process like what is death. So I think I took it hard. Like I feel like everybody else in the family took it pretty hard. Like Salia said, she was a very important figure in our family. Everybody went to her for advice. If you needed a place to stay, she was the person to go to. You needed a hot meal, she was gonna make sure you was well fed. So I think at 13, just processing everything was a lot. So I'm glad we were able to create this brand to honor her. Like Talia said, it was a point in time where it was just hard for us to even say her name. That's how much we were in pain dealing with loss of such a beautiful woman. So I think we had to work through those traumas. We are still working through them, but we're still here.
One, express my condolences. I know that it's been a while, but it doesn't, change the fact that that happened. However, you ladies are just still blessed because she is still here with you in the spirit realm, and you are keeping her name and legacy alive. So I know that for that, she is so proud of both of you. Can you talk about how it also maybe affected your family and your family dynamic, like your mom? Can you talk a little bit about, their relationship and, how that relationship kind of cultivated a relationship with you ladies and your aunt?
Sure. My mom and would speak. I would say my mom, my aunt Nabia, she had a fraternal twin, my uncle Malik, and then her younger sister, my aunt Frances. They were the closest, and they were like pretty much on the younger end of out of the 10. So my mom spoke heavily as a child of how close they were. They pretty much did everything together. I would say that my mom spoke heavily of how much my aunt was there for her when her mom couldn't be present for her. My mom talked about how I think, if I recall correctly, my aunt got my mom her dress for her a high school graduation. Like that's how much like of a role that my aunt played. And to echo what Karima said, she pretty much was like the person after our grandmother passed to kind of like, that was like the glue for the family. So to watch my mom and my aunt have the relationship that they did, it really served as a really great example for what sisterhood really looked like. I was honored to be able to watch them and my aunt Frances like just see that like no matter the different trials and triumphs that my family went through, how they never let nothing come in between them. And that's something that I strive to use as a model for my relationship with my two younger sisters. So I'm just honored to been able to see that because sometimes people aren't able to see that. So.
Oh, absolutely. And that's so beautiful because, you talk about that was your first image essentially of sisterhood, and to see now you being in business with your sisters and you all being essentially best friends, like you're intertwined in each other's lives in multiple facets. I believe that watching that dynamic was super important to where you all are now. Can you tell me a little bit? I mean, you shared something with me yesterday, and I really feel like the viewers would benefit from hearing the story about how your parents actually met.
So my parents, they met actually through my aunt, Auntie Nabia, and my uncle Malik. They joined, they converted to Islam in the 80s. Before my mom was still in college. So my mom came back down because she was going to school in Massachusetts. And my aunt and my uncle, they kept saying like, we want you to come to the temple, like you need to meet our minister, right? Because at the time my dad was assistant minister. Like, you need to meet our minister, you need to meet our minister. Like, and my mom's like, okay, who is this minister? Like, I want to meet this minister. Like, who is this guy? And so my mom, she went one time and my dad wasn't there. And then the second time my dad was there. And then my mom said when she saw my father, she was like, I want to marry somebody like that one day. And then my dad saw my mom and was like, I she's somebody that I would be interested in. And literally, like, without my aunt and my uncle literally knowing my father pre my mom, like we wouldn't even be here. So right. They are literally responsible for like our existence. Literally. So I thank them so much, especially my uncle, who he's no longer here with us. He's somebody that we lost at a very young age. But I thank them greatly because had they not known my dad and just known to even bring my mom there, we wouldn't even be here. So yeah.
That story is just, it gives me chills again because it's so powerful and divine to me when I hear that, because for me it changes my perspective on what loss actually means. And essentially, like your aunt and your uncle, although they are not here in the human realm, they're still there in the spiritual realm, and they're kind of like your spiritual parents, right? They brought your physical parents together. They passed on, but they're still there, and it's just such a beautiful concept for me to hear with you all and to see you all right now and how you're flourishing and keeping legacies alive. It's such an impactful thing. And I really wanted the viewers to hear that because it's impactful for me. So thank you for sharing that, and my condolences for what y'all have been through. But to see where you are now, I know that it's all a part of the journey. So tapping in a little bit into, obviously, this is Heal Talk, and we're talking about, our healing and alignment spiritually. You mentioned you all practice the faith of Islam. You still practice that? You're still in the faith? Okay. So can you tell me a little bit about your experience in your faith and, how it contributed to your coping or healing through all of the loss that you've gone through and all of the great things that you guys experience as well?
Sure. I can say for me, my parents instilled in us early on certain fundamental principles that has pretty much helped myself and my sisters get through life. So without those fundamental principles, when hard times hit, I don't know if we didn't have that type of foundation, if we would be able to get through certain things that we were going through. So I'm grateful for my parents. I'm grateful for my uncle and my aunt who instilled in us very early on certain things, such that we're able to now thrive today. So I'm very appreciative. What would you say?
I would say the same thing. I would say my faith is something that I lean on heavily, not just when times are good, but or not just when times are bad, but when things are good as well. a lot of times I find that like we want to pray when things are bad, when really we should pray all the time. And I view prayer as a way to like cleanse your mind, like that, how I view it, how I use prayer to cleanse my mind of things when I'm not sure of things. Like if I go through something, I pray for strength, or I pray for clarity. I pray for peace. Like so I use that's how I use prayer for me. And I would say, and I'm not sure if you want me to get into what we were talking about yesterday with my personal story now, but I would say going through what I went through this past summer, my faith is a thing that I believe is what literally saved me. So
Yes, please feel free to talk about your story and your experience of what you went through.
sure. So I will say that I'm sharing this for the first time, and I'm glad that Shanae has this platform, because I wouldn't feel comfortable sharing this on any other platform. So I would say this year, well, for the past year, I almost died twice. Almost wasn't going to be here. Around, I'll say about May, I started getting extremely, extremely sick, and I wasn't really sure kind of what was going on. And to speed the story up, long story short, I would say in about August, I was about 80 pounds. And it was the hardest time in my life. My sisters pretty much watched me deteriorate over the couple of months, and we weren't really sure what was going on with me. And it was just a combination of a series of like traumatic events that happened, that the stress built up in my body, and my body didn't have a place to release this stress. So it released in my body. It caused me to have chronic inflammation and gastritis. And with that, it caused me to drop, significant amount of weight. It was very scary for me because my family literally had to kind of watch me deteriorate. And it was hard. It was definitely hard because when I became ill, we were in the middle of a launch for our company. The day that we actually launched our brand, I was extremely ill. I was bedbound for about 2 months, and I couldn't walk. And so for me to even be here today, I prayed prayers to pray for strength, pray for clarity. Like, what am I supposed to learn in this moment? What am I supposed to learn? What am I missing? I prayed just to be alive. And my dad went through a very similar situation. And ironically enough, my father prayed the same prayer, which I thought was chilling to me. He went through a health scare that was different but dramatic. And he prayed the same prayer. And the prayer that he prayed was pretty much saying, like, if you give me another chance, I'm going to stay on the right path. Not that he wasn't on the right path, but he was beginning his spiritual journey. And so for me to kind of go through something similar, my dad was 25 when he went through his experience, and I was 28. For me to kind of like mirror that experience, it was definitely hard. But what I got out of the situation is like to not lose faith, that no matter how hard it is, even when you're at the brink, to like not lose faith. So I'm sorry if that was a little long-winded, but yeah.
It is not long. Like, we want to hear the story, so don't even worry about that. And thank you for sharing. And praise God that you made it through that. And you're here, and you look beautiful, and you look healthy.
Thank you.
Of course. And it's so interesting how you brought up your father kind of going through something, and how we talked a little bit about this yesterday, how the experiences of the past kind of repeats itself when we don't do the inner healing work, right? And maybe like with your father kind of having that spiritual awakening, it was the step, but maybe didn't have all of the right tools, right, at the time, right, to properly regurgitate it to you all, right? So for you, like you mentioned earlier, having all of those traumas, having all of those pains, and you said something so powerful yesterday that, like, I don't have inflammation, I don't have gastritis, but I have trauma, and it didn't have anywhere to go. And so you needed to find a way to release it, and you turned inward and upward, and that's allowing you to be where you are right now. And it's just such a powerful testimony and story. And I'm just very thankful for you for sharing, for sure. And Karima, how about same question for you? Is there something that, has happened within your life that allowed you to kind of lean more into your faith from any type of perspective? It doesn't have to be, trauma, but something great, any stories that you have that you'd like to share?
I think anything that I do, I try to keep faith with me through whatever I'm going through. I think going through school period, I went to PWI, so that was an interesting take, being one of the Black women in most of your classes, balancing imposter syndrome and dealing with certain things. I definitely had to keep my faith alive and know that, okay, I'm here for a reason. I'm just as smart as these other students that are here as well. I think going through what Salia went through with her, that was pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie, that was rough. But we kept our faith. I prayed for her. I was praying. You hear me? Yeah. I was praying for you. Yeah. Because she's so bright and she just has a lot of gifts to bring to the world. And I used to tell her, this is not your time. You have so many things to give to the world. So I keep prayer with me. I keep my faith with me through whatever I'm going through. So I'm just happy to be here, happy she's here. Yes. And we're just gonna keep marching on.
Yes, that's beautiful. And I mean, yeah, I can only imagine like how watching your sister that going through that, like how that affected you and your everyday. Can you talk a little bit about that?
It was hard. Me and my sister were extremely close. I think growing up, we weren't as close as we were because she was going through her own traumas and I didn't really understand them. So I think as you get older, you understand your sisters more. Y'all share similar stories, or she gives you certain guidance. So having gotten close is like, hold on, this is not how this is supposed to go. So it was extremely scary to go through that. One thing that we talked about yesterday was dealing with the healthcare system as Black women. And I think having to advocate for her in the healthcare system was something that was extremely traumatizing. I had to talk to doctors like something is not right, like things that she's going through, she's not right. You telling me that she is right, she's not right. So having to be an advocate for her in the healthcare system during this day and time was extremely tough. And just balancing being a business owner, having to kind of pick up her slack a little bit and figure out how we're going to keep this relaunch going, as well as working a full-time job. That was extremely rough. And then on top of that, I ended up getting COVID. So it was rough, it was extremely rough doing all of that. It was extremely rough. So people may see the relaunch as like, oh my God, this is beautiful, but it was a lot that happened behind the scenes that I'm happy that we're able to share now.
Wow, I would have had no idea. And it's a true testament to when you're walking in divine purpose and you're obedient to what your source wants you to create. Like you can be going through all of these things, but when you're staying obedient, God will provide the resources around you, to help you get that vision out. And it's beautiful. Like of course, just from a business perspective, your relaunch was successful. It was beautiful. I'm proud of y'all on that. But just from of course, but from a personal perspective, to see you kind of relaunch your own selves and have that rebirth. So while you were going through a rebirth within your own life, it reflected in your brand. And for me, like that's such a beautiful thing, because the rebirth of your brand exudes, femininity, strength, sleekness, divine royalty. Honestly, that's what I get when I see it. That's what I get when I use it. Shameless plug. And then looking at you ladies here right now, you can tell that it's truly a reflection of who you are. And now even knowing what you were going through behind the scenes at the time, it makes it even more impactful. So that's amazing. And thank you for sharing that. And thank you for trusting the space to share all that you all endured. That's an honor in itself. And I'm thankful for that. We talked about all of these things and all of these traumas. And you ladies mentioned earlier about while you guys were kind of grieving through loss and navigating all of that. And there was a point in time where you couldn't even say your aunt's name, right? Can you talk a little bit about coping and coping methods and healthy coping methods versus non-healthy coping methods, and then how did coping kind of impact your family?
So like I said, I was 16 years old when I had like just turned 16 because my aunt passed March 2009 and my birthday was in February. So for me, during around the time that my aunt got sick, we had saw her before she passed, and then we thought she was going to be like recovering, and then it was just like she was just gone. I found out after a prep rally. So for me, it was just like devastating for me. I think personally myself, I coped through my relationship at the time. I was in an engagement with someone, and I really just like delved into that because I wanted to feel, I think that was a place, like, not to say that my parents didn't make me feel secure, but I felt a little abandoned. So I think that was a place of refuge for me. So I didn't have to kind of like deal with that at the time. And I mean, I wasn't engaged at 16 with people that did. That's what I'm saying. They don't let you know, but like he was my boyfriend at the time, but we ended up getting engaged. But that was a place of refuge for me. And I think that through me coping with it like that, I think it did have a strain on what Creeman mentioned earlier about us not being as close, because I was like funneling so much energy like into that. And then it's like some of my other hobbies, that like roller skating is one of my hobbies. Like that's something that I think I really just like funneled all of my energy into that. So definitely bad coping mechanism. Me looking back, me being 28 now. And I would say, I guess a good way would be just to like, and I think I subconsciously did it with the brand without me even really knowing that I was doing it with the brand. And which is why I love our brand so much, because it's like every time I say Sabreen Cosmetics, it's like forcing, it's like a burst of my aunt's like energy that comes forth every time I say her name. So I really, really love that. And it over time kind of went from a melancholy thing to like a inspirational thing. And I would dare say, and I don't want to speak for my cousins, all of my cousins, but I would dare say it was kind of like that with my cousins as well. Like we knew it happened, and it was just like, okay. And it was like, okay, well, this happened, and okay,
Yeah.
nothing else came from it. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, again, I was young, so I think I just took my frustrations out in work, learning, just working, school. And then I had to learn like you have to balance out work and, regular life. So not just forcing like your energy into work, 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 work. Like, no, it has to be a healthy balance. And as you grow older, you understand that you're going to burn out, you're going to get tired. You're not going to be able to do what you want to do because you're not creating a healthy environment for yourself. So I think having learned that at a young age, I'm now able to balance multiple things and create a healthier environment whenever I'm going through anything now.
Thank you for that. I asked because I had a conversation like before about coping versus healing, and especially like within the Black community, because I can only speak from our community perspective. Right. I believe that our whole lives is just a whole coping journey.
It is.
And when you go through anything traumatic, especially something like that, like loss, I can only imagine what that taught you and what that experience, how that experience taught you how to cope even moving forward within other aspects of your life. And with that, what does it mean to you now, as you are older now, like the difference between coping and healing? Like, what does coping mean to you versus what healing means? And can coping be a healthy thing?
I would say that for me, and I don't know if we mentioned this earlier, our parents, they're a little bit older. They had children a little bit later than their siblings. So we were kind of like the babies of the bunch. So by the time we started coming around, like a lot of our like matriarchs and patriarchs of our family were like starting to pass away. So we started to deal with death really, really early. My uncle, he died traumatically. So it was 6, 7, 8. It's like after a while, you kind of just become numb to it.
Right.
Losing people due to natural causes and also violence, gun violence, drugs, et cetera, et cetera. You just kind of like, okay, like whatever. I think with our aunt, I think that was kind of like the breaking point for us in terms of like death. It was like, okay, like at least for me, I was like, okay, like, you know, I'm done, you know, like I'm done. It's like I have nothing else really left, like really to understand, because how I was processing it was why is this happening to me? Why am I being abandoned? Why are all the people that I love being taken away from me? Mm-hmm. Like, why me? I took it very, very personally. And it caused me to deal with these things of looking at abandonment, looking at not feeling secure, feeling unstable. And I always was looking for a place where I could feel that same unconditional love and stability that my aunt and my uncle gave me. And not to say that my parents didn't, but it's just the relationships were a little bit different because of who they were.
Right.
So I would say that. And I think for me, coping, I think is something, like you say, with our community, is something that like I feel like it's almost synonymous with survival. We didn't have time to really, you know, when did we have time to do that? You know what I'm saying? If you're a sharecropper and you're working 16 hours a day, when do you have time to process that when you're trying to just survive? Like if you're in slavery, definitely not getting any type of psychological, you know, help, you know? So for me, I think the thing that's helped me is, and my father helped me a lot with this, which is understanding the reality of death, right? And I'm not gonna go into the spiritual side of things, but just the physical things, that like everything in life has a season, right? And there's a time to be born, and there's a time to die, and it doesn't have to be a mournful thing. If you look at African culture, death for us was never a mournful thing culturally. It was a time to like celebrate life. Right. In American culture, and I dare say Eurocentric culture makes it like a mournful thing. Mm-hmm. You wear black and everybody's crying, and it's just like, and everybody grieves however they want to, but by my father explaining it to me that way, it allowed me to accept the reality of what death was and not turn it into something like that was just so like grieful, like, but to also take the time to grieve how I needed to be and honor those feelings, but also do it in a way where like I know my aunt and I can hear her voice like, girl, don't be sitting around here waiting for me crying. Like, you know, I can hear her saying that, don't be sitting out here like, so I was like, okay, like what would she want me to do? Right. You know, she would want us to get up and like celebrate her. Right. So I don't really believe in coping. I feel like there's a season for coping and then there's a season for healing. And I'm more of an advocate of healing, because once you heal from something, heal that wound, it won't bother you. You won't continue to bleed on other people or bleed on yourself.
I agree.
So, yeah.
I agree.
Yes, that's so powerful. And it's so interesting when you bring up like African culture. And there are actually a lot of cultures like that, like even like Mexican culture, like what appears to us as like an infatuation of death, it's actually a celebration of life, because we come from people who truly believe that life doesn't end in the physical realm. It continues. It's just in a different realm. And so that's such a powerful sentiment to have, and thought process, like reprogramming our brain around death or anything really. Like it doesn't have to be so final. Like it feels that way just because you can't touch the person, you can't see them, but you could feel them. And sometimes like feeling someone more than seeing someone can feel just as impactful, like when you can feel someone's spirit. So I think that that's an amazing thought process to have. And I believe like healing is a lifelong journey when we actually step into it, because that's the thing, right? Like what you mentioned earlier, like a lot of this for us kind of stems from slavery, right? Where they didn't have time. We were constantly in survival mode, and it's still very much so alive and well today. Like even having Black people in certain spaces, and I'm sure as women who are in the beauty space, right? Like how it's Black women specifically, how these spaces don't feel like they're for us, but we are in them. So we have to excuse me, like figure out a way to navigate them anyway. And we live in a world where it constantly is trying to remind us like, we don't want you here, we don't want you here, but we're here, right?
Yeah.
But we can either take that as I have to survive and just like do what I have to do and just kind of think self-preservation in a way, like from a selfish perspective, or we actually confront, what we're going through, right? The only way you can heal something is if you reveal it. And a lot of times we don't want to. And that's why dis-ease comes up, right? Like Celia mentioned, a lot of that trauma manifested within her body because the trauma didn't have an outlet or a healthy outlet. Because at the end of the day, like I know for myself how I can be when I'm sick or anything. I just don't want that feeling of missing my chance or missing out on something. I work around a lot of creatives who can literally like break their neck and still want to like do their thing, like still do their craft. And it's just like, nah, that you doing that for 1 minute can end your passion for a lifetime. And we don't really take the time to sit down and look at the grand scheme of things because we want instant gratification at that moment. And I feel like we've accepted coping and low key like mediocrity in life. What we think is pushing through is really accepting mediocrity, because how can you provide how could you provide something great if you're not at your ultimate self, like if you're not at your best self? Imagine if you were at your best self and you put your energy into something, it would be great. And that's not to say we can't produce great things through pain. I mean, you both are examples and we see it all around, but you have each other, right? You have each other. Like Karima mentioned, like I had to pick up when my sister was down. And even in that, like you're going through your own trauma, watching your sister go through something that you had no idea what could happen, right? That's trauma in itself. But God still gave you the strength to be what you needed to be for her and the rest of your family. Like you all got to pick each other up. And so I totally agree. Obviously I'm more on the healing train because through my experience, I would say for me, there have been seeds that's been planted throughout the years, but I haven't really embarked on this healing journey seriously until a year ago and being intentional about it. And so that brings me to my next question: intentions, especially as entrepreneurs, because you're going against the grain, right? Like you're following your purpose. You're not taking the easy, like I don't want to say the easy way out, but I would say the safe way where I could just get a 9 to 5 and get my check, get all my benefits and do this and then go home. But you ladies are following and being obedient to what your purpose is. And it comes with a lot of risk. So how do you stay, and again, being in the space that you're in the beauty space where it's so saturated, like overly saturated. But then you have the battle of being Black women and making products for women of color, and making clean products on top of that. That's not going to be harmful, so could possibly be more expensive and things like that. Can you talk about how you make sure to stay intentional, and what your what your intentions are as you kind of navigate your purpose?
Sure. So when we initially started this company, we always wanted to be a luxury company that served women of color. I think as we had navigated the space, we learned kind of what to do or what works or what doesn't work. But at the forefront, we always wanted to be able to show Black women in different lights. I wanted to be able to see Black women in a boardroom or see her on a yacht or see her on a golf course. So we've always been intentional about how we wanted to showcase Black women, because oftentimes we are not showcased in our best light. And I think the beauty industry doesn't or hasn't always been the best place to showcase us either, specifically the clean beauty industry. So having this opportunity was pretty amazing for us because we saw that it's a need for this. And I think Black women, once they learn more about our brand and what we're doing, they would appreciate it, and as well as the products that we create. So we have a lot of intention. Everything that we do or we create, from our packaging, from our products to our messaging, is intentional.
I agree. I would agree. I would echo the sentiments. Being Black women in the beauty industry is very, very hard. And my sister, I think, how I want to say this, we have very strong sentiments around how we feel about it. But our motivation and how at least for me, remain intentional is understanding the purpose, right? Some people, they get into the beauty industry for money. It is a lucrative industry. We would be lying to say that it's not. But to me, it's bigger than that. It's about the impact and lasting impact that we're going to have when we're long gone. You look at Madam C.J. Walker, very intentional with what she was doing. It wasn't just her making pomade and using a hot comb. It was about, the world has this image of Black women as being unkept, or not being able to show themselves in their best light. Mm-hmm. So how can I assist them? And people had their different views of, back then, about straightening the hair and everything, but that was what her vision was. And had we not had her as one of the forerunners in the beauty industry, we wouldn't have somebody look to and say, okay, she became a multimillionaire, being a child of a slave, and literally having to go through the same thing, going to pitch to retailers, yep. and she did it by herself, bootstrap, and she had some, investors, but she did it. And she was able to also not economically free herself, but also the women around her. And I think that, like, that's the impact that we want to have on the community, to be able to show women of color, like, it's not just about having your shade, right? It's about, we're making products because who better to know how to make products for you and formulate products for you, but another person who looks like you. I know what it feels like to look at a campaign and say, okay, like, and I'm going to say this, and people will probably be upset, but, like, I'm tired of seeing luxury campaigns and, like, our hair, women of color's hair is not done, or the makeup is not done, or they look ashy. Like, I'm tired of seeing that. They don't look good. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to make it, and Karima, she did a brilliant job with the campaign. I was more background because I wasn't there, but Karima really created the whole campaign and the vision behind it, about how she wanted them to look, the models to look. And every time I look on it, I'm very happy, because it's like, if my company was to dissolve tomorrow, I know, like, wow, like, we put out something that can stand the test of time, and Black women can be proud of. Any age can be proud of. So for me, being intentional is not just about our brand, it's about who we represent and who we want to evolve into, what we want to evolve into. And I'm going to say it, and like I said, we will be the Black LVMH. I'm all about affirmations, and it will happen in due time. So, and I'm excited about that. So
I agree.
Because can we get a few stats for that? Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, I love that. That was powerful. That was very powerful. Thank you. Now that we kind of talked about intention and what your intentions are in the space, kind of the backstory of, how you got here and what your brand is, but beyond your brand, just you as women, how does healing and being intentional about your healing, both from a personal level and from a business level, how does that drive success in your business?
I think you mentioned something earlier, like if you're not your best self, you're not going to be able to literally really see the heights you're able to see. So I think it really starts from within first, healing whatever past traumas that you have, such that you can be your best self. Salih wasn't her best self because she didn't heal those things that was in her. Thus, we went through a really rough patch with our relaunch. So I think just taking the time out to heal yourself such that you can be your best self was really important to me.
I would agree. I think healing yourself just really allows you to like view the world from a different lens, a different vantage point, and it makes you self-aware. I was in therapy for 2 years prior to me going through this ordeal. And I thought I had a lot of things healed. And then I realized like, oh no, you don't, you really don't. And I will also say with that, I've learned through like healing, it's like, especially with business as entrepreneurs, like you're constantly like you said, you don't have that luxury of like, I can get a check. I can just show up and get a check. Like if we don't work, like we don't eat, type of thing. But it's also learning how to manage, knowing when to rest, right? We live in this culture where it's like grind, hustle. We don't sleep. Like, no, I need to sleep. Right? I need to sleep to be functional. Like, right. Like literally biologically, like we have to sleep as beings. Like this is how we're wired. And I would say up into last year, during the pandemic, I was in healthcare and I was literally, which I believe contributed to this ordeal. At the time, I was working full time. I was full time with my master's degree program, also trying to run the business, also being heavily involved in like one of my hobbies. So like I had so much on me, and in my mind, I was like, if I don't do all of these things, like I'm going to fail. Like, so I can't rest. I can't rest. And through me going to therapy, and then also through me going through this experience, I realized like I had to heal some of the ways that like I view life. Like I had to become a little bit more self-aware, because if not, I can literally kill myself. Literally. So I would say healing has allowed me to learn more about balance, understanding balance, understanding my boundaries, knowing it's okay to say, you know what, I need help, knowing when to say like, you know what, I need rest, knowing when to say like, no, I don't like that. You can't bring that around me. So it just allowed me to become a bit more self-aware, and also to allow me not to take things so personally. During our relaunch, we went through probably one of the worst relaunches ever in life, I feel like.
On top of you being sick.
On top of me being sick, I was still working through like through the relaunch. Like one of my friends would like, he's an architect, he would call me to check on me, and he's like, what are you doing, Salih? He's like, you need to rest. I was like, no, like I have to keep going. And like even through that experience, like all of the like rejection and all of the no's and vendors backing out on us at like the last minute, it taught me like not to take them personal. Old me, unhealed me would have been like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. Like now it's like, okay, sometimes rejection is your protection. And every time we got rejected from a vendor or back out on us, or a business relationship would fold, we would meet somebody who was better. And I was like, you know what? Like, I feel like this was just a season for us to evolve from certain things. But had I just viewed it as like, oh my gosh, why is this happening to me? Like, I don't know if I would have had enough ingenuity to say, you know what, we need to move from this. Okay, this rejection happened. Okay, it's not the end of the world. It hurts, yes, but we have to keep going. So that's what healing has helped me do. Put things in perspective and become more self-aware.
Wow. Woo, let's take that in. Let's take a moment to take all of that in, because y'all just dropped a lot of gems through that. And it's so interesting how toxicity, like we have a culture that is so backwards, right? We praise toxicity and trauma, and when people are trying to reverse that, it's like looked down upon or weaponized, right? Like like, for example, what you were talking about, like, all right, as an entrepreneur, I feel like I gotta work, like I have to work or I don't eat. And my boyfriend is an entrepreneur, and I watch him, like, he's in purpose. He loves what he does, but he's almost forgotten about himself. Like, and I can watch the deterioration of him happening while the building of his brand is taking off. And you said something so important, which is balance, and even redefining what balance looks like, right? Like, when we think about balance, even like the term work-life balance, like, I feel like people think that you have to try to balance it all in one day. And it's like, nah, actually, we have so many days. Like, balance can look like, all right, Monday is the day I'm totally focused on my business from this time to this time. Don't bother me. Tuesday, I have a little bit of time for lunch with you here. So let's do lunch here. From this time to this time, I'm gonna work out. From this time to this time, it's just purely about my business. And then Friday, that's my day with my family. Don't bother me. Like, that is what balance looks like. It doesn't have to be crammed into one day. I think sometimes we just get so hyper focused. At least I know for myself, I used to think like that. Like, I had to cram all these things in one sitting and not really truly understanding and understanding the true definition of balance. And you said something else, like, about, of course, like, grinding and strength. And just as Black women in this space, and the tag that Black women has of being strong, right? A strong Black woman, which essentially means y'all could take anything. I don't care. We're going to just throw the weight of the world on you, and you still got to push through. Can you talk about how y'all would like to redefine what being a strong Black woman is, especially through your experiences and through your healing journey? How do you define what that means now, and how would you like to define it for Black women coming up and the young Black girls?
I think my sister has helped me through her healing journey redefine what the strong Black woman narrative is, and she taught me to put it down. That's not the narrative that we need to keep, portraying. Black women need help, and she's taught me that when you're in your femininity, you're going to receive the help that you need. Sometimes we take on our masculine energy sometimes, and we think, oh, I can do this, so I don't need help with this. So no, we do need help, sis. You do need help, and you should take the help, because it's going to help you be a more calm, more reserved yourself. You're going to be able to walk through life without feeling stressed and without feeling tired. So that narrative, I don't really say no more. I don't think I'm a strong Black woman. I think I'm a powerful Black woman. I think I have a lot of strengths in me. But that narrative that I don't need no help, I'm not, those days are gone. And I'm grateful that she has helped me through that.
Yeah, I know I echo those sentiments. I think that I love what Karima said about being powerful. I think we should embrace that. I don't think, and I know some sisters are going to get offended when you hear this, but it's just like, you can still be powerful, and that doesn't mean reducing yourself. Like, stepping into your femininity doesn't mean reducing yourself. It means you being who you're naturally wired to be. And you mentioned divine femininity, and I think that that's something that we need to embrace, because with that, it teaches us the beauty of being feminine. And because we have embraced this title of being strong Black woman, we've almost made it like being feminine and soft something that's like a bad thing. I think it's something that we should embrace. And I think when we start to start putting things down, it'll force others to come pick some things up. And that's why a lot of us are getting the breast cancer, ovarian cancer, hair falling out, stressed out, etc. Like burnout, which is pretty much happened to me. And I just think I would love to teach young little girls, women of color, that like, there is a space for you to just be free. I think that for so long we have to carry the societal burdens, and we just don't get to just be like, just Like just be. Whenever I see like Black women, like Michelle Obama, just different Angela Bassett, you just see them just be like, they just got that glow, like that Black girl magic, you know? And I would love to see more images of that. And I hope that Sabreen Cosmetics can provide some sources of like imageries for women to dream and say, you know what, like, I'm okay. Like, I'm putting it down. I'm the first person to tell you, child, I can't do that. I'm in distress. Life alert. I need help. So.
Yes, life alert.
I need help.
Oh my goodness. So many gems, so many words. Oh, wow. Yes, Karima, like, can we hashtag that? I am not a strong Black woman, but I am a powerful Black woman. Like, can we normalize that? Like, there's someone in my life who I love, and she's amazing. She produces amazing things, but it's like she says yes to everything. And no matter how much the burden is, whether it's on her or everyone around her. And I'm like, you don't have to do that. And she's like, what? I just feel like I'm Superwoman. I could do everything. And I'm like, so I need you to redefine what Superwoman means, because that isn't Superwoman. That's someone who doesn't find themselves worthy enough of rest. That's someone who doesn't find themselves worthy enough of help. That's someone who doesn't find themselves worthy enough of actually producing something even greater than what you probably are producing now. And as I'm learning that, because I'm starting to tear down all of the, like, remove those certain words from my vocabulary. Even like the aggressive Black woman, or where all of those words, like, that are synonymous with us because we are standing up for ourselves. Those are things used to weaponize us. And y'all mentioned something earlier about us stepping in more into our masculine energy and exuding masculine energy. I remember one day I was talking to a few Black men, and one of the Black men was like, why do y'all think Black men don't like Black women? And I was like, well, why don't Black men like Black women? You tell me, you a Black man. And then one of them said, well, maybe Black men just don't want to date another Black man. And I was definitely triggered, and it definitely sent me. Okay. But now in the healed version of Shanae, okay, what that says to me is that we're just so like traumatized and unhealed, and we live in an unbalanced society. Like, it's backwards, right?
Yes, for sure.
To the point where even within our community, like, we don't even really know the true definition of emotion. When people are like defining women as emotional, all human beings are emotional, and emotions just isn't crying. Like, emotion is happiness. Like, emotion is anger. Anger is a secondary emotion. Emotion is joy. Emotion is sadness. It's all of these things. So when you say I'm emotional, yeah, and so are you. And emotional doesn't only mean me being sad. Like, when I'm happy right now, I'm emotional. I'm being filled up so much by this conversation. You know what I mean? And when I hear stuff like that, it's like, we really got to be intentional about not allowing society to define us. Because white people, one thing they gonna do, they show up being them. Like, they show up just being, okay? We feel like we have to morph into something to please others, where that group of people, they walk in with a sense of entitlement. Like, they walk in with a sense of, yes, they have privilege and the system is designed for them. But when we start to put in our mindset that it's designed for us too, like, if we're here, we already here. So I need to walk in like, this is my stuff as well. And we definitely, like, there's no more angry Black woman narrative. Like, we're not doing that, because we can't play into that. And what I've realized Y'all, I'm not gonna lie. Like, first of all, shout out to God for making me a Black woman. I feel so like that's like the highest honor. Like, I feel gang because and I say this during like throughout this journey and really tapping into the divine femininity, realizing how powerful the feminine energy is. That's why they, much like Black people, that's why they try to reverse it. That's why they try to weaponize it, right? Like I work in a space that is male dominated, and if I wear something that I feel cute in and it makes, it's hugging my figure, I'm a distraction to the man. But he has no responsibility for there's no responsibility put on him. But me walking in my divine feminine energy is scary to you. And so when we think about it like that, like we truly are powerful. Like we have so much more power than we even realize, because society is trying to convince us otherwise. And we literally, to me, on a personal level, we are women. We are the portal of life. Like we literally are the portal from the spiritual realm to the earthly realm. And that's life comes through us, right? How powerful is that? So we create life. When you're in your creative mode, that I think that when I'm in my most creative mode, that's my time closest to God. And literally when man and woman come together to form life like a child, that is a moment with God where we're creating the ultimate gift. And then we are the portal of life. And so I think that when we can redefine that and really understand the power we hold, like that sentiment that Karima said, that we are powerful women, couldn't ring more true to me, at least. And we got to start that hashtag. Like, I'm actually a powerful Black woman. What's up?
Yeah, pretty much.
Absolutely. If I could add to something you said, because what you said is really caused me to think about what you just said. I think that in a way society has, because this is the thing too, both men and women both have a masculine and feminine side, right? So in order for me to do the run my business, I have to have a certain amount of masculinity to get through school, to work. But that doesn't mean that how I encounter with different people, it can't be through a feminine way without sacrificing that. And I think in a way, now that I think about it, I feel like through society, femininity has been stripped from us to strip our humanity. Because if I can take that from you, and I can strip your humanity from you, and I can just place this label strong on you, I don't have to view you as a human. I don't have to treat you right in the justice system, or in I can say, if I go to healthcare system, I can say, oh, well, I feel like Black women or Black people in general just have a higher threshold of pain, so I don't have to give them anything. And so when you said that, it jogged my memory. It really caused me to think about that. Like why would they want to strip that? Why are Black women's bodies hypersexualized just because of how we naturally are born, genetically are born? Why are certain body types, Black body types, are exploited to, just, what I'm saying? We're just not given that space where I feel like other groups of women, they can be big, fat, small, etc. Like they're able to just be. So I know that through time, as we begin to heal as a people and have these conversations, that the image of what the Black woman is will change. So I'm happy that we're having this conversation.
Yes. And I couldn't agree with you more on we possess both masculine and feminine energy, because we were created by both masculine and feminine energy, including our men. They tend to forget. But if we even want to get down to a scientific perspective, they have both the woman and the man chromosome. So I really just, my goal through this is to normalize like being human, like literally just being, like y'all said, like we are called human beings, yet we are human doers. We feel like we just got to constantly just do. And even God rested. Like, if we want to talk about biblical terms, then that's a whole different conversation, because I believe a whole bunch of different things. But like, even from that perspective, even God took a day of rest. And if we are made in the image of spirit, then we are worthy of the same thing. That is why we are designed to sleep. That's why team no sleep is so dangerous and so toxic. Because then when you don't sleep, you don't even give your body a chance to get rid of the actual traumas that you endure throughout the day, or to process it. It's just such a powerful conversation right now. Like, I feel so empowered and uplifted. And I truly believe that through your gift and your purpose and your business, but past business, just through your divine calling that y'all are following, which is your business, is going to change. It's going to change the world, and it's really going to change the world for Black women. And I have such a heavy emphasis on Black women, because I just feel like, my queens, like, when we step into our power, like when we step into our godliness, our goddessness, it will just completely change everything. Because one thing I will say about us, and just Black men, Black women, us as a people, like, our hearts are so pure because everyone comes from us. Our hearts are open to everyone. And I one thing I've learned through this healing journey is that in order to be a healer, and a healer in the sense of healing yourself and encouraging other people to heal, you have to have compassion, and you have to have an open heart. And I believe that we have a beautiful heart, but we have to get rid of all of the other stuff. Like, our mind, body, and soul needs to be aligned. And it's just, we're not there yet, but we're getting there. We will get there. And so this conversation it's really filling me up. It's such a beautiful conversation. I know that you all are, you guys practice Islam, but I don't know too much about it. So what are your thoughts on, like, organized religion versus, like, the spirituality aspect, and how do you bring them together within your life?
How we practice our faith, we don't view it as anything as organized religion. It's just a lifestyle. It's just a lifestyle. I don't have to think twice about not eating pork, not smoking, not drinking. Like, those are it's just who I am, right? And that I know that if I make a mistake, that I can correct self. But I feel like it's really about self accountability. Like, how do I want to show up in the world for me? Not because my mom said do it, not because my dad said do it, but because of me, Salia. How do I want to show up in the world? So for me, I'm not really too sure, because for us, it's not organized religion. It's just a way of life for us. And I would just say, in terms of the spirituality piece, for me, I'm like, we are taught to, like, study all things. We have respect for all faiths. So for me, if we're taught that we're supposed to bear witness to the truth, regardless of what the source it comes from. So if it's a wine on the street that tells the truth and they're telling the truth, we're supposed to bear witness to that. So I can take find truth in all different Taoism, like, whatever. Like, if it's something, they're all there. Each faith or spirituality has something that we can extract a lesson from. So that's what I do. I'm not in the business of pushing my faith or what I believe in other people, but I stand firm in what I believe. I'm unapologetically who I am, but also being open enough to bear witness to that. More than one thing can be true at the same time. So that's how I view it.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree with everything she just said.
So do I. All right, we all on the same page. We are aligned. Yes, I love that. Honestly, that phrase, that two things can be true at the same time, has really changed my perspective on even how I approach situations, certain situations, and even learning to validate my feelings and other people's feelings. My best friend, she is a therapist, but she's like, I can't be your therapist because it's a conflict of interest. But one nugget that I get from her all the time is that our realities are different, and you cannot convince someone any different of their reality, just like someone can't convince you any different of your reality. But where we have to get to is a common ground, and figuring out how to heal together on that common ground, because we all do have common ground. And that is the truth that we have to pay attention to, because again, we all have different truths, right? Like, we all experience different things in a different way. So yes, I totally agree with everything you said. For both of you, as you are continuing on your journey, what has been the most impactful part of your journey so far?
I think for me, just giving grace and having an understanding of people. I think once you learn that sometimes it's not about you, it's about them and what they're going through, you will give grace to people in their situation and what they're going through. So I think through many things that I've been through throughout my life, I've learned to give grace, and that has given me a level of peace that I think if I didn't, I wouldn't have, because I would probably be upset, like, oh my God, this person's doing this to me, or not working out. It's not always about me, and I'm learning that. I'm still learning that. So that's something that I've learned.
Yeah. And could you just repeat the question one more time again, Shanae, because I want to make sure I answer it right.
Yes. What has been the most impactful lesson that you've learned on this journey?
Oh, wow. I think the most impactful lesson that I've learned through my healing journey is the power of putting yourself first and having boundaries. Mm-hmm. Those were the two things that I found were the source of me going through a lot of the traumatic things that I went through. And I think sometimes you have to go through the same thing over and over again until you get tired. A lot of times when my friends come to me, they complain. I say, well, you ain't tired yet. So when you get tired, this conversation and the energy is going to shift. And I'm going to be there to support you through the whole thing. But I would say just putting myself first. I would say before, I had a really bad habit of not putting myself first. One of my big sisters, Naya, she would tell me all the time, she'd say, Salih, like, you always drop everything. I used to drop everything for everybody. I would do things even though I didn't really want to do them because I felt obligated to do them. And then through my therapy, I was able to explore why I felt the need to do those things, and dealing with some of those core values that I had about myself that I didn't even know. I had to do that stigma subliminally of being a strong Black woman, being hyper independent. And I found that as I began to heal those different things within myself, I began to it was almost like a genesis for me. And I began to view life from a totally different perspective. It went from why is this happening to me, like, to having so much opportunity to create the life that I wanted, because I believe that we're architects of our life. We literally design it how we want it to be. So as soon as I made that intentional decision that, like, I don't want to feel like I'm in this black pit anymore. I don't want to feel like nobody cares about me. I don't want to feel like I'm only a doormat and I'm only something to be used, and changing it to I deserve the best. I'm not going to tolerate anything that's not conducive to me. I'm going to have strong boundaries. My no is final and not negotiable. Those type of things. That's when I began to find that the impact had changed my life. And I think that this health scare that I had was a culmination of all of those things that I went through. And of course, it's going to be something else, because like you said, it's a healing journey. But I think that chapter of me putting myself first is closed. I think I understand it now. So.
Yes, I love that. I think one of the most powerful things is life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. And that's just such it's a really life-changing thought process, because it's easy for us to think everything is happening to us and sit in that victim mode and victim mentality that feels so familiar. Again, survival, pity. We feel like, oh, if I'm sad, people will care and they'll come. But when you're happy, people won't really like, they'll just let you be. And we have to reverse that. And it's okay. Like, solitude is okay. And yeah, it's a powerful sentiment for me, and that definitely is helping put things in perspective for me in my life as well. What advice would y'all give someone who is, one, ready to embark on their healing journey, and someone who is currently on it?
I think the advice that I would give to somebody is to know that it's not going to be easy. I think people have created this like what you call like idea that, oh, we're going to heal, we're going to manifest, we're going to, like, they created these buzzwords, not knowing that it's a lot of work that goes into healing personal trauma that you've been through, maybe as a child, or that you're going through. So I think one, understanding that it's not going to be easy, but on the other side of you going through that, you're going to be your most beautiful, authentic self. And I think that's something to keep in mind on your journey, that, it's not going to be easy, but I'm going to be a better person once I come out of this. I'm going to understand certain things when I go through this, such that I can maneuver through life easier. And the people that I place in my life will be more intentional as well, such that I can live a more abundant life.
I would say for me, it's just like, be honest, like really just be honest, right? One of the hardest things, and I feel like this society has a great job, is like, oh, pointing a finger at, like, oh, look at that person, what did they do? Shame on this person. When we have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? I stink too. You know what I'm saying? I got some flies around me too that I need to clean up. I'm not, perfect. So my advice would be to be 100% honest, show up and speak. Also, don't be ashamed of anything, and know that there is no lived human experience that you have gone through that somebody else hasn't gone through, or they can't find somebody to help you get through it if it is unique. That there is help out there. If you have any shame, if somebody told you, like if you tell somebody that this is going to happen, don't believe them. Speak your pain, speak your truth, whatever it is. And don't be afraid to ask for help, and understand that sometimes you may not be amongst people who's going to understand what you're trying to do. Like, there are going to be people that's like, you may have 20 people around you to do the generational trauma that's not going to understand when you start talking about healing trauma. They're not going to be your advocates, but you have to have enough self-resolve in yourself. So, you know what? I want to go from this place to this place. And if that means you leaving some people behind, not forever, maybe some people you need to leave behind forever, but maybe some people you can just leave them there for a minute and come back to them. But taking that solitude, like you said, to really just get yourself together, and then finding community with other people who've been through what you've been through. A lot of us on our healing journey feel like, like, I'm by myself. No, nobody understands me. No, you good on Google, you type in something, there's literally a support group for everything, brittle nails, anything, whatever you can think of, there's a support group, because there's people that are just living this human experience. And so it's like finding that community. So I would say, be authentic. Don't be ashamed of like what you've been through. Speak whatever it is, and find community. That would be my advice. And for people that's currently on the healing journey, like how Shanae said, it's like, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. Like, you're going to constantly be evolving. What you're healing in your 20s is not going to be the same thing of what you're healing in your 60s, but just constantly continue to self-develop, and not try to be perfect, but to be the most perfect you that you can be. Like, not striving to a standard of perfection, but to refine yourself to the highest level that you deem fit in whatever that is. So that's what I have.
Yes, y'all, come on. It's just gems after gems in this episode. Thank you for that. And y'all said something so powerful. I don't know if y'all have read Yvonne Orji's book, Bamboozled by Jesus, how Jesus tricked me in the life of my dreams. But she said something in the book, and I had to write it down. She said a lot of things, and I wrote them down anywhere I can find a piece of paper. But she said something like, you can't let other people's reservations become your hesitation. And I thought it's like, yes, like we take on other people's fear and then internalize it and make it become our own fear. And then we don't go after the things that we want. And community. My whole life's mission these past 2 years has been to build community, whether that was with Unmute Black Voices or now with Heal Talk. And hopefully Heal Talk can be one of those resources for people who are on their journey, who feels like it's alone. That was the reason why this whole space was created divinely from God, because God wanted all of us to come together and share our stories, because there's so much power in storytelling. So many of the art that we love that has been created has been through people's storytelling. And it's just such a beautiful thing. And so I just feel honored to be a part of this space that can hopefully be something for people to come to reach out to us on, if they are going through something or if something resonates with them through their journey, because trauma feels lonely, but healing can feel lonely too, because again, we live in such a flipped society where healing isn't uplifted, but coping is. And so when you start to do that work, you start to change to people, and you don't enjoy the same things that you might have enjoyed with them, whether that's partying, right? Like, I feel like as I've been healing, I love being around people, but I appreciate my time by myself. Like, I appreciate my time with myself because that's time I get to spend with God. That's time I get to spend with myself. When you don't do social activities as much, like drinking or smoke, whatever the case may be, and you used to do it all the time with these people, and now it's like, what do we actually have in common? We don't really have much in common no more. And so we got to mourn those relationship losses, and not in a bad way, but it's like, I'm outgrowing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I'm glad you said that, Salia, because that's the purpose of this platform, is so people know that they're not alone. And that's why I'm just in such awe and so honored by all of the guests who come on here and share y'all stories, because you literally are changing the world by just being honest. Something so simple that is a lifestyle, right? Like, a lot of us can't be because of whatever the reason, shame or whatever. So being able to just be on here and say, you know what, I need help, and I just can't do this no more. Like, this is hard, or you know what, things are amazing, but I had to do X, Y, and Z for things to be great. Just being honest about our process can truly change. So I definitely agree with you on that community, and I'm glad that we have this community here. My other question is, what do you ladies want your legacy to be? Your personal legacy, and then the legacy of Sabreen Cosmetics.
That's always a heavy question, because it's like, that's like your life's work in a way. But I think my personal legacy, I would want it to be that whoever I came into contact with, that I left them either where they were or in a better version of themselves, that I was able to share whatever that I was going through, or share any of my resources to uplift them in a positive fashion. For Sabreen Cosmetics, I want to be able to build this platform and this brand such that Black women can see themselves again in a positive light, and that we are going to be able to be a reflection of what we truly are, not what society deems fit, or not what people think that we should look like, but what we actually are. So that's kind of where I'm going, and to be able to use this brand to build generational wealth such that my kids will be able to live off of what my sisters and I created and that whatever they manifest for themselves or for their children, that they're able to do it without such restraints that we had to, endure.
Yeah, I echo what Karima said. I would say I would like my legacy to be one of somebody who was unapologetically herself. Because that's something that I battled with, like trying to dim my light. Somebody who was unapologetically herself but had a heart of gold would give anything within boundaries now that she can give. And a person that was kind and someone who truly cared about the humanity of people, but specifically Black people. That's very important to me because that's something that has been stripped from us. And because we're not viewed as human, we have all of these extra problems that we have that we're going to heal through. I would say for the company, I would like for us to be the legacy when it's all said and done to be the Black LVMH, but better. We only have seen a Eurocentric version of what luxury looks like, but we haven't really seen, and of course we adapted. We're gonna always put our sauce on whatever we do, right? But we haven't really said this is what our standard is of what luxury is. So I would like for our company, or now I would like our company will be one of the forerunners of that when it's said and done, such that the generations that's coming behind us can look and said, okay, there's diversity, there's a spectrum of Blackness that's there, and they can pick whatever way that they want to do. But we wanted to just be able to contribute to the conversation to show that society doesn't get to define what Blackness is. We have control of our own voices and taking that autonomy to say no, you said this is what it is, but no, this is what it is, and this is how we view things. So that, and being able to inspire Black women to step into their queendom, to step into their femininity, to step into just their greatness. And when you said that, when I put the products on, it makes me feel inspired. When my sister Naya, she said when she saw our campaign video before we released it, she said, I was feeling really, really bad. But when you sent me the video to show it to me, when I put it on, she said, when I watched it, she said, the video made me feel like I could do anything in the world. That's what's important to me. Not the money, not the fame, not the accolades, not magazine covers, not podcasts. It's about how did I make you feel? Dr. Maya Angelou said, you may not remember what somebody did to you, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And for so long, we've been made to feel like we are nothing. Mm-hmm. So if I can use our brands as a way to make somebody feel like there's somebody, and maybe by them seeing the campaign, they say, you know what? I'm not there, but I want to get there. How can I get to this place? And to be something aspirational, then my work is done. My work is done. So, yeah.
Yes. Woo. I got chills. Oh my God, that's amazing. Thank you both so much for that. And I believe that you are already creating your legacies and you're already doing that. I've already been filled up so much just from this conversation. And I literally see the light in y'all. I see not just the ring light, but the real light from within in y'all. And I see women who are intentional, who care about humanity, like you said, all of the things you say you want to be known for, you're already doing, or you're at least planting the seeds to do. And so I commend you for staying true to your path and for your calling. So thank y'all for that. Thank you so much. We are going to move towards the creator of the episode. This segment is to highlight a minority, and really specifically Black creators and business owners, to provide them a platform so that y'all can go out and support them. So I'm going to kick it over to Salia and Karima to talk about the creator of the episode and business of the episode that these beautiful ladies have chosen. So Karima and Salia, take it away.
Sure. So we've chosen to highlight Beaded by Na by Naja Muhammad Cross. She is student of Bowie State, and she's created this beautiful jewelry brand that I think encompasses our culture so beautifully. She creates rings, she has necklaces that Saleh has on, and I think she just captivates. If you go on her Instagram, Beaded by Na, she just captivates us so beautifully. And I just love the spin that she has on jewelry. A lot of times it's, one way, but I think she's took a beautiful twist to it. So that's who we want to highlight. I love her. I love you, Naja.
Yeah. I would echo the sentiments. I think Naja, her ability to kind of going back to like, if you look at like the Tiffany's or Cartier, those type of brands, but she's able to take the elements of our culture and then put it into jewelry. She plays a lot of homage to like family, and that's something that's very, very big in our culture. So for her to be able to curate pieces that takes elements of our culture and still do it in a way that's like luxury and fashion forward, I think that's so awesome. And I think she's going to be one of those brands that, like, when we look back 20 or 30 years from now, we're like, whoa, like this girl is she really out here moving. So Beat It by Na, Naja, we love you, and I'm her biggest fan. So yeah.
Yes, let's give it up for Naja. That's amazing. Thank you, ladies. Now, as always, before we end the episode, we always love to leave our viewers with a quote that you live by or that currently resonates with you. So if you won't mind sharing, what is a quote that you live by or is currently resonating with you?
Mine would be the beginning of wisdom is calling things by their proper name by Confucius. That one I live by. I always make sure that I'm able to call a thing, because if we don't speak the truth about what things are, how can we heal from them? How can we acknowledge them? How can we even begin to take steps towards that healing? So I'm very intentional about, like, if I see something, I call it what it is, call it by its proper name, and move accordingly. So.
Yes, I love that quote. I definitely echo that sentiment as well.
Amazing. Perfect. Well, ladies, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for all of the gems that you dropped on this conversation. Thank you for having this conversation, taking your time out of your day. I know y'all are busy women, busy people, doing a lot of amazing things for the world. So to be able to just get a little bit of your time means the world to me. And thank you for always supporting me. And I will always support y'all. Make sure y'all are supporting Sabreen Cosmetics. Follow them on Instagram. They just had a beautiful relaunch. So make sure that y'all are buying and supporting them and sharing with your friends. And, I hope that everyone enjoyed this episode. Again, I'm so appreciative of y'all. If you are okay with it, we like to end the episode in prayer before we go out. So let's bow our heads and end it in prayer. Lord, first and foremost, we want to thank you for your presence. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for trusting us to be the vessel of your vision, Lord. You said where 2 and 3 is gathered in your name, you will be there also. So we just want to thank you for bringing us together on this Sunday afternoon. Thank you for just speaking through us today, Lord. We pray that this episode is impactful and it reaches who it needs to reach. We thank you for Celia and Karima. We thank you for all that they are doing. Thank you for all that they have gone through to be here today. Thank you for their constant healing. We just appreciate all that you are. I want to uplift them, and I just pray that they continue to be open to receiving all of the abundance and life lessons that you want to teach them and use them for, Lord. And we just thank you and pray that you watch over all of our viewers, watch over us, continue to keep us safe and continue to keep us walking in purpose so that we can just be vessels for you to serve your people. We appreciate you. We thank you. In your name we pray. Ashe. Amen. Thank you so much. Amen. All right, tribe. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Heal Talk with Na. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all so much. And until next time, peace, love, and gratitude. and abundance. Later. Okay, so since we're not in person, we have to still take a picture.
Okay.
So just look at the camera. Okay. A fun one. All right, I got it.
Peace and gratitude, tribe. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Heal Talk. If you like content like this, please be sure to like and comment below. And don't forget to subscribe. Also, make sure that you turn on that bell notification so that you'll never miss an alert when we drop a new episode. Thank you so much for your support. And until next time, peace.